really, I'm only going to update you on where we're up to, rather than give you a full breakdown on what the cultural strategy looks like. You should have all had an opportunity to feed into the consultation. And if you haven't, then the document is still online and it's still there to view. There probably will be another opportunity to feed back your thoughts if you haven't had a chance to, but we're going to have to take account of what's come on so far, and then we'll redraft. So with the cultural strategy, I was going to talk about a few things. Firstly, where are we now? Well, as I said, there is, strangely enough, there are two documents. The first one is the consultation document, which was the one that was online. That one is a shorter document. It has things like a definition of culture, which is quite a difficult thing to define. There's an element in there about what the value system should be that would define a vision. So what is there in culture that we value, that we want to bring together to create a vision for culture moving forward? There's a set of 4 potential priority areas for focusing energy and development moving forward. And there's also a suggestion of a potential way of moving forward where the sector takes the lead, setting objectives and driving developments forward, potentially using days such as today to come together and to discuss, set that agenda and decide how we move forward. And finally, within that document that was online, there's a set of measures so that we can demonstrate success, we can demonstrate the outcomes that were referred to earlier on, and so that we collect more information so that as we move forward, we know more about the cultural sector than we did when we started out. That second document is a bit more wordy, it's a bit longer, it's about 40 pages rather than 7. And it says more about things like what constraints there are, what the context is, and what the challenges are. It also says more about who the document's for, about readership, and all the top and tail stuff that documents have to have in them. And it says more about the known developments that are happening within the cultural sector. So though we are in a period of recession and of constraint, within Wiltshire there are a number of key developments moving forward which are radically changing the cultural landscape, not least of which is the investment of about £27 million in Stonehenge, a new visitor centre there, and allied to that is a further £2 million investment into the Salisbury and South Wiltshire Museum and to the Devizes Museum, the intention being there to drive visitors from Stonehenge to those two museums. And that obviously offers us great opportunities to engage with those visitors at 2 different points. Equally, the council's got its building programme moving forward, and we've just seen the opening of a new library in Trowbridge, which has got a wonderful atrium space with a gallery and a lovely space for performance. And the recent figures were put on Twitter about that new library was it's something like doubled the number of users, it's gained an extra 500 new registered library members. So investment is delivering outcomes in terms of increase of community activity. Whilst the consultation has been online, there's been a further 2 significant policy developments. One is the evolution of the core strategy, which is a document which I'm sure you're all very familiar with. It identifies, interestingly, where development is going to take place, so where the new communities are going to be in Wiltshire. In some communities that's a huge number of new homes. In others it's a mixture of new homes and new commercial spaces. But what the core strategy also does is it provides a framework, or it identifies the importance of cultural infrastructure within these new and enlarged communities. The second policy development is the JSA, which was mentioned earlier on this morning as well. So I'll just give you a little bit more information on the JSA because it's a bit of an oblique thing. It's the Joint Strategic Assessment, and traditionally that was heart attacks, teenage pregnancy and crime. It was what are the statistics that we know about an area which kind of tell you what it's like to live there. There's always been a gap within JSAs because there isn't really a huge amount of data on culture. There isn't a huge amount of comparable data on culture. And so what we attempted to do in this one is to draw together what we do know and to create a series of 4 areas of interest. So the first one was about participation rates and the makeup of that participation. The second element of the JSA was about the scope and the scale of the cultural asset base. So what is there in Wiltshire that we know about? And that was a really interesting element to look at because it forced us to consider what do we mean by culture, what do we mean by the arts, and to include things like ancient woodland, and areas of outstanding natural beauty. And if you think about the way that Wiltshire has used those natural features, you can see that the arts play a key role in how communities access or how communities see the landscape around them. The third area was satisfaction, so that was looking at how satisfied people are with their local cultural provision. And then the final area was economic impact. What data do we have on the economic impact of the arts and culture more broadly? Whilst this policy landscape has come into sharper focus, we also had the Olympic year and the Jubilee year, which has been a really exciting period for the county, and particularly so is that it's proven the power and the influence of the arts to build communities and to have a significant economic impact and to shape the places that we live in and to attract tourists. So that has been really helpful in terms of creating a sense of energy and focus around what the arts can achieve in this county, and to demonstrate that through really large activities and very ambitious programs of work. So the next question is, what do we do next? Well, we need to look at and respond to the consultation that's come through the portal online about the cultural strategy. We need to see what that says. We need to look as a sector and digest both the implications of the core strategy, so that's the growth in communities, and the opportunities to welcome those communities as audiences, but also to discuss what these larger communities need in terms of physical infrastructure. We need to ask deeper questions of the JSA. For example, we know how many people participate in culture and in the arts, but what does that mean? What do they get out of that experience? Why is it important for communities to participate in the arts? And we need to look at the opportunities identified through the Olympic legacy in the county, and we need to look at what the cultural strategy is telling us about those big developments like Stonehenge, bring all of these things together. And then finally, we need to work together. We need to look at how we share resources and deliver opportunities. And that, I think, is going to be the trick. It's how do we use these events to create a sense of collective destiny and to build groups that can take forward the opportunities that are still present even in this very difficult climate.